Without a doubt, this company is doing things very well. Vivo has become synonymous with good smartphones with incredible cameras. And in this renewed version of its mid-range, with a color that reminds me of eucalyptus wood, Vivo has managed to introduce an excellent screen, this time flat, into a more compact body than the previous version. A long-lasting battery, a very durable design, top-notch sound, and above all, cameras and image processing of the highest level. This is the new Vivo V70, and as you can already see on the box, it focuses directly on photography. That's what they focus on the most, and I'm not surprised at all, as you'll see next. Compared to the previous versions, the V50 and the V60, this V70 is much more compact and has a much more premium design. It comes with a USB-C to USB-A cable. It's actually pretty thick, to be honest, and also a soft silicone case. And now, here it is in all its glory, this Vivo V70. As you can see this time, unlike the previous versions, the screen is also flatter. The back is textured so it doesn't get dirty easily. And also the frame is made of aluminum. It weighs 187 grams. And honestly, considering how big its battery is and that almost all smartphones nowadays weigh more than 200 grams, it's appreciated. It's nice that Vivo made an effort here to bring it down below 190 grams. Speaker, microphones, USB-C 2.0, and here a card slot that, as you can see, withstands drops. You can add 2 SIM cards, and that red ring confirms that it has IP69 water and dust protections. Volume and lock button with good travel. You can already see the entire aluminum frame, which is quite flat. And on the top, there's an infrared port, a microphone, the second speaker, and on the other side, there's absolutely nothing. The downside of its design, what I like the least, is the USB-C 2.0. I guess this is because of the price. But what I like the most is that it's very compact, and above all, it feels very sturdy. And now let's move on to one of the things I like the most about this Vivo V70. And without a doubt, that point is its screen. You can see that direct sunlight is hitting it right now, and even so, the screen is still readable. And that's because it has a peak brightness of up to 5,000 nits, which is impressive, and we've gone from a 6.77-inch panel, which was used in previous versions, to a smaller one of 6.59 inches. It's still a 10-bit screen. It features HDR 10 plus 120H, and the resolution, even though the screen size has been reduced, has actually been increased. That means we reach 459 pixels per inch, so the pixel density also increases compared to previous versions. I like all the eye protection software it has, but I would stick with this point. Look, because the people at Vivo have developed software that, thanks to these dots that move and change with speed, if you're reading something in a car, on the bus, on the subway, or any kind of transport, this software makes sure you don't get dizzy, which is amazing. I hadn't seen it before on any other smartphone, and honestly, I love it. This kind of innovation is what I think is really worth it, and Vivo has used it in this Vivo V70, and the screen setup, as you can see, is excellent. You can customize absolutely everything. You can see that YouTube can run up to 4K 60 frames per second HDR without any problem. And as for the colors, sharpness, and viewing angles, honestly, it's amazing. It's the compact screen I've liked the most so far this year. It's sharper than the previous versions. That's true, it does have some reflections, but I think they're mostly caused by the transparent plastic film that's pre-installed on this Vivo V70. Therefore, if you plan to consume content, watch series, movies, or use social media on this smartphone, you'll be able to see it with outstanding image quality. Anyway, this Vivo V70 comes with IP69 water and dust protection. But how does its display panel perform? As you can see, I'm simulating quite a heavy rain. And even so, even though the screen is completely soaked with water, it doesn't go crazy. You already saw what happened to the iPhone 17 Pro Max, which I can tell you costs a lot more than this one. And under the same wet conditions, its controller went absolutely crazy. Well, you should know that with this little Vivo, that's not going to happen to you. And at this point, I like that companies pay attention to these details. And now let's move on to the photography section of this Vivo V70. There have been some updates here. For example, the telephoto lens is now 85 millimeters, and the video capabilities have also been improved. It records up to 4K at 60 frames per second. But as for the cameras, the main one is 50 megapixels. The telephoto is also 50 megapixels, and the ultra-wide angle, which I think is the one I like the least, is 8 megapixels. Also, the front camera is 50 megapixels as well. It supports 100x digital zoom, and you can already see all the software, the entire camera interface, which is something I like about Vivo. It has the typical filters, face, vivid, texture, and so on. The one I recommend the most, actually, is I think it's a bit more natural. And in general, the photography section is one of the things I like the most. However, it's still not on the same level as its big brother, the Vivo X300 Pro, which I also reviewed on this channel. And it's currently one of the kings, if not the king, of photography. Of course, we're still waiting for the X300 Ultra to arrive. The portrait mode, for example, I really liked. I also like that they explain everything in detail with images. It has several extra modes. The Pro mode is my favorite. Check this out. Check this out. It allows exposure times up to 32 seconds, which is impressive for a mid-range device. And here is the vintage camera mode, which is like a secondary camera or interface. It has more filters. I think everything here is a bit more lively, especially for social media. I think this vintage camera is where it feels most at home. And now let's move on to the point that I think has even improved compared to its bigger siblings. It was one of my criticisms in the videos I made about the X200 Ultra, the X200 Pro, and the X300 Pro and the artificial intelligence, especially in the eraser feature. It did some pretty strange things, and notice at this point the processing isn't all that slow, considering the processor it has, which I'll talk about later. And you can see that even though it changes some parameters in the mountain, in part of the background, it's a good eraser by artificial intelligence. Now then, let's go to the photographic samples of this Vivo V70. If I had to choose just one of its cameras, it would definitely be the main camera. The one I like the least, as I was saying, is the 8 megapixel ultra-wide angle. The 3.7x zoom at this point has actually impressed me even more than previous generations. I've tested on this channel. Later, you'll even see the macro samples. Even though it doesn't have a dedicated macro zoom, the 10x zoom does a pretty good job. The colors, the texture, the dynamic range are very vivid at this point. And that's not a negative thing. On the contrary, I love it. The way colors are handled, the image processing from Vivo, the colors are captured really well. And honestly, that's one of those things. It's one of those cameras or smartphones that you really enjoy using for photography. I've been testing it in quite a variety of conditions, with good light, with poor light. And honestly, Vivo at this point in photography is outstanding. And as the years go by, they keep getting better. But yes, the negative points are still there too. I have to mention this as well. Take a look at the preview. The sky appears white, and you have to wait a couple of seconds for the photo to apply HDR and show the real sky. Sometimes it's different. The image on the screen before taking a photo often looks different from the final shot, especially with overexposed skies. This happens to me frequently, especially with Vivo. You have to wait a bit to see the real result. Even though you're already seeing the macros, this isn't a phone designed for macros, but the 10x zoom has pleasantly surprised me. Obviously, it's still not on the same level as the great Vivo X200 Ultra that I tested on this channel. I hope to try out the X300 Ultra before too long, but you can already see that the results are really top-notch. Even at night, look at this moon, how it focuses and defocuses the moon, the branches, and so on. It does it in a really top-notch way. And at this point in night photography, I also like this Vivo V70. Let's see how it does though, in the video section. Recording in full HD with the Vivo V70. This is how its stabilization would look and how its microphones would sound. And this would be its maximum resolution, 4K at 60 frames. The truth is that the screen looks really good. The sunlight is practically hitting the panel directly. And despite that, it still looks perfect. And this would be the ultra stabilization, which lets you record in full HD at 30 frames per second, I'm going to start running so you can see how well it stabilizes. Right now I'm running, and at least on screen, the stabilization looks really, really good. And now let's talk about the hardware and software of this Vivo V70. The main thing I want to highlight is double tap to wake, double tap to lock, but above all, it's the ultrasonic sensor. The fingerprint sensor at this point is extremely fast. Plus, it works even when wet. Forget about Face ID and any other unlocking system. After having tried them all, I would stick with this one, the ultrasonic. This is also an upgrade compared to previous versions that were optical. Everything runs very smoothly. 120 Hz, you know. And at this point, it features a Qualcomm Snapdragon 7 4th generation, 4 nanometers. This particular model comes with 512 GB of UFS 4.1 storage and 12 GB of RAM, with another 12 GB of virtual RAM. In addition, the operating system includes stock Android 16, and the interface is Origin OS 6. By the way, it would get 4 major Android updates, and you can already see all the software tricks that Vivo brings. Honestly, this hasn't changed compared to other versions, even its bigger siblings. You can already see that the apps can be minimized and multitasking can be used in other ways. By the way, I really like the wallpapers, especially the kinetic ones. This comes from its larger siblings, and I appreciate that Vivo did this. Look, for example, at this. As you walk more, the wallpaper changes and the mountain gradually rises. The landscape changes. Also, this flower gradually opens up as you walk more and more. All of this can be customized. You can customize the steps. It motivates you to walk, which is a unique and interesting feature I haven't seen on other smartphones, and I like it. With this processor, with this power to run everyday apps like Instagram, you won't have any problems at all. Also, at this point, what stands out to me is how compact it is, how easy it is to fit in a pocket, and especially the great screen it has. When it comes to running, for example, Google Earth, which is a bit heavier, you can already see how smoothly it handles it. There are no stutters, no lag at all. The vibration motor is good. The data, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, everything has worked perfectly for me. All the connections. And even for gaming, it's true that it doesn't have the most powerful processor ever, but all the games I've tried run very well at a good frame rate. Also, in terms of heat, I haven't felt that it gets excessively hot, so the thermal management isn't bad either. Now let's move to a section that surprised me. Despite how small it is and the fact that it's smaller than its siblings, these two speakers not only sound good, but they also have some features like super audio or super audio resolution that you can activate. It has some other tricks like holographic audio, which is something like spatial audio, 3D audio. The truth is that it's not bad at all, both for the speakers and for the USB Type-C. And now, let's go to the test of the surprising sound of this Vivo V70. The mids are very forward, and I especially like that sense of space you can hear. It's really well achieved. Now, look at how thin it is. It's just 7.4 millimeters, 187 grams, and even so, they've managed to fit in a huge 6,500 milliamp battery. Plus, it's a high-density battery, which performs better in extreme temperatures, both high and low. It supports 90-watt fast charging, but it doesn't have wireless charging. But you can already see the overall impression. The customization to improve and protect the battery, honestly, when it comes to battery software, Vivo does a great job. As for its battery life, it can last you 2 days with normal use, and if you don't push it too hard, especially with the camera, you can even make it to a 3rd day, which is really good. But now it's time to talk about the price. How much does this Vivo V70 cost? Well, as you can see, 699 euros. The top version, meaning the one with 12 GB of RAM and 512 GB of internal storage, which is the one I've tested, I'll leave the purchase link below in the video description. Without a doubt, This mid-range or upper mid-range phone from Vivo is a powerhouse for those of you who like more compact phones without giving up an excellent screen, a very long-lasting battery, a top design, and good performance. And with cameras that, if you've ever tried anything from this company, you're going to love. And by the way, I'm going to share the best ones. Photos I've taken with this Vivo V70 on my Telegram channel at the highest quality, meaning uncompressed, so you can download them and see them in detail, pixel by pixel. I'll also leave the link to my Telegram below, right underneath, along with the purchase link for this Vivo. If I had to choose just one thing, apart from the software that lets you avoid getting dizzy while reading on this smartphone, for example in a car, which I found super useful, it would definitely be its camera features and its durability. And all of this makes it probably the best compact smartphone I've tried so far this year. And now, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already and leave me a like so I can keep filming in these wonderful landscapes, blending them with the most innovative technology. And with that said, I'll see you in the next video. Take care and see you soon.